We have some more NHL signings to discuss today, plus the Minnesota Wild have named their new general manager. We'll get into all the news coming up next. Welcome back here to Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have some breaking news from around the NHL, and we might as well get started here with the Minnesota Wild naming their next general manager. Former Penguins assistant GM Bill Guerin, of course, longtime NHL player as well, is now the new general manager for the Minnesota Wild. We reported a few times here over the last week or so that things were looking like Guerin was the front runner. Many believe that other guys like Ron Hextall and even Peter Chiarelli were involved until the finalist selections here, but Guerin had gone back for multiple interviews and certainly deserves this opportunity in my opinion. He had a tremendous hockey career, multiple Stanley Cup winner, a very well-respected hockey guy, has been working in an executive role in the NHL for about a decade now. He's been an assistant GM with the Penguins for some time. He's done a great job. Certainly came with glowing recommendations from GM Jim Rutherford in Pittsburgh. And as much as the Penguins are probably a little bit sad to be losing his services, they are very excited for him and feel he deserves this opportunity. And certainly we're not going to be holding him back here. So the Minnesota Wild now have a new direction. Of course, we'll see what kind of moves they make. So certainly will be interesting to see what direction Bill Guerin takes things in under general manager Paul Fenton. There really didn't seem to be any clear-cut direction. A lot of the moves were really hard to tell where they were going. Were they going towards a rebuild? Were they trying to retool? Were they trying to add some veterans? It really wasn't clear, so it'll be interesting to see how he leaves his mark on his club. Of course, being so deep into the offseason, it might be a little while before he really gets an opportunity to make a whole lot of moves. A few things he could do early to give us a good indication would be to see how he deals with his veterans. For example, like Jared Spurgeon's in need of a contract extension. Is that something they're going to work on and try to keep him in the fold or not? I guess will remain to be seen. But either way, Billy Guerin's got his first shot as being a GM in the NHL, and the Minnesota Wild appear to have their guy in place here. So we'll see what direction that team shapes up here taking forward. Now, as I mentioned, we do have some signings to discuss here as well. After a major stalemate amongst the RFAs for over a significant period of time, we're starting to get some guys signed. Of course, they're not the real big names here on the list, but either way, we get some pretty decent contracts on to go here today, starting with Ottawa Senators signing Colin White to a 6-year contract extension at $4.75 million. Now, Colin White's a player who they was drafted in the first round back in 2015. He played a couple years of college hockey, then joined the NHL on an entry-level contract. His first year was split pretty much between the NHL and AHL, but last year he spent the whole year in the NHL, minus some time being injured, and certainly had a very productive season, and certainly proved that he could play in the top 9 for sure, oftentimes in the top 6 as well. So I do think this contract will give Colin White every opportunity to exceed in a top 6 role. Now, not a big shock here because we know the Senators are not real big fans of them, but there are no signing bonuses built into this contract. It's a straight base salary for the entire 6 years. There is no trade protection in his contract as well. He would have been eligible only in the final year of the deal for any kind of a modified or no trade clause, but that was not put in there either. So either way, just a basic standard contract, straight salary, no trade clauses or anything like that included. But Colin White is all signed up with the Senators now for 6 years. I do think overall this will prove to be a great deal longer term. Short term, it might seem a little bit expensive, but longer term, I think it all works out. He's got a lot of potential here, and even if he proves to be a solid 60 to 70 point player in a few years' time, then this will certainly look like a bargain at that point. But based on where Colin White is in his career, he's likely going to start to peak at his top performance during the second half of this contract. So overall, it looks like it should be a pretty good deal for them. Now, the Minnesota Wild have also come to terms with RFA forward Joel Eriksson on a 2-year contract extension worth $1.487 million. Now, obviously, as we just said, Billy Guerin was named the new general manager, so I would imagine the assistant GM, Tom Kurvers, along with some guidance from ownership, likely negotiated that contract and get that all locked after here. But of course, Eriksson as another one of the RFAs. They might not be the big high-profile guys like Mitch Marner, Braden Point, Mikko Rantanen, etc. But either way, at least some of these guys are starting to get contracts in place and get things looked after here before we get to training camp. Now, of course, on another note, unrestricted free agent veteran forward Derick Brassard has signed with the New York Islanders. Now, there was some rumblings in the last 24 hours or so indicated that he might be signing with the Edmonton Oilers. Now, former NHL player Georges Laraque had put out on Twitter that he had information suggesting that he was really close to signing a 1-year deal with the Oilers. I know that seemed to kind of go from there. Other people were reporting on it as well, but it looks as though that's not the case. He signed a 1-year deal with the Islanders, $1.2 million. Obviously, he'll be a third-line type of player. He'll likely play a similar type of role that we saw last year with Valtteri Filppula, who actually did a pretty nice job, I thought, with the Isles last year, but of course did not re-sign with the club during free agency. So Brassard will add some forward depth, some experience, a third-line center role, and hopefully things will work out there. But of course, being a one-year term, that kind of money is certainly very little risk involved, and I think that's overall a pretty decent signing here for the Islanders. And if Brassard can bounce back and kind of reprove himself, then he likely will get himself a better contract next summer or next time around. Let me know what you think on all the latest breaking news. Do you think Bill Guerin's a great choice to be the next Wild GM? At least we get to scratch off a couple more names off the restricted free agent list. Hopefully we'll get some more movement on some of the bigger names and have a little bit more activity going on here in the near future. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.